Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Brilliant. Thanks very much, John.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for inviting me along.
Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me today. Welcome to the Business Spotlight. If we could start, John, could you tell me a little about your background and alchemy?
Yeah, I'm a dairyman. I studied here until I went off to university in London to study computing. Believe it or not, that was in 1980. I did study computing with artificial intelligence, and I
John, I'm gonna
joined.
stop. I'm gonna stop you there, John. Are you telling me that artificial intelligence and 1980 just featured within in the same sort of sentence?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean the computing power, I guess, wasn't there to bring it to life in the way that, we're seeing it actively in our daily lives now and the true potential. But, it was well and truly on the syllabus and an option to discuss. And it worked really well because I've always been into philosophy also. And so there was a lot of debate and discussion, as there is today, about how that fits in from a philosophical standpoint and a moral standpoint into the fabric of society. So, it's not a new thing, but it is really coming to life now with the computing power that's available and the advances that's been made. Yeah. Yeah, so my first job, a bit like the graduates we bring in the Alchemy, was with Pete Marwick Mitchell, now KPMG, as these large companies consolidated, which carries on to this day. And I was in, the computing consulting side. It's very different in those days, what was available. A lot of it was mainframe and mini clusters, and really I was around my first big client was very exciting, was Apple Computer. And establishing Apple Computer Europe, I moved to Paris for 6 years to do that. Still in love with the city, amazing part of the world. And also went to California and Cupertino, Silicon Valley, with Apple Computer. They were a client. They did offer me a role, but I was a bit loyal to the consulting world, and I probably would have done better had I jumped in and taken the share options as the world panned out, right?
Yes. You could have put that through an AI program and could have told you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so then, I actually ended up in a role as a bit of a troubleshooter around the world for problematic projects. As we know, 80% of most IT projects run into difficulties, either take more time, more money, or don't quite meet the expectations. So there was plenty of work going in. And what became very evident to me was culture, behavior, human impact were really the main issues around these challenges. I progressed to fixing companies, and one company in particular was an insurance software business. And that got me into insurance. So when the opportunity came up to sort of end my career in something of a legacy, setting up a business, creating jobs, I decided that was a very good business vertical to get into, because billions of dollars are being spent and will carry on being spent for a number of decades in order to modernize that whole industry. And so, creating careers for people in that industry would see them through for a lifetime if they want, of prosperity in a good professional setting. And that's where I focused when asked to set up a business here in Northern Ireland to create some impact on the community, um, financially and socially, and to create lasting careers.
And when was that, John? So when was Alchemy born?
So September 2018, we kicked it off. Um, you know, Chasing a few hundred jobs, a bit of training funding from the likes of the Department of the Economy and Invest NI, which helped, get us off the ground. We could claim back some of the training because we went very focused on skill sets and 6 months of training before anyone touches a client site and things, and really, really focus on that. So yeah, we've been just 6 years now.
And did you always want to have your own business? Was when did that spark happen?
It was actually a young dairy woman called Julianne Brace who worked for Invest NI at the time and was persistent in inviting me out for a coffee and suggesting that I return back to Northern Ireland and create some jobs. I don't think I really ever intended when people say returning home. I mean, I'd left here when I was 18 years old, and it was a very
You've got a bit of there's a
comfortable.
bit of being away from home twang to the accent. I can pick up a little bit of
Yeah, I'm a bit lost when it comes to the accent, really. I held on to the Irish accent. My wife and daughter, they're English. They think I've got a very strong accent, and it's got stronger since I moved back. Anyone who lives here thinks I'm a worse accent than GMAC, Graham McDowell. So there's no winning.
and so to help me understand about your target market. Who does Alchemy work best with?
Yeah, well, we just won the King's Award, for international trade, which gives you an indication that it's not local businesses. Um, we partner with, in particular, a couple of firms, but in particular, the world's leading insurance software company, which happens to be out of Silicon Valley in California as well. And they're called Guidewire. And they are the market leader. If you look at the Gartner quadrant, their top right-hand corner, if you look at market share and revenue, they're very dominant in their modern systems. And they actually are designed for a partner ecosystem. They want to stick to developing the software and be a software provider. And so the services side, the implementation, and the providing the services to the insurance companies, they look for partners. And typically their partners are the sort of company I've worked for in the past, the PwCs of this world, the KPMGs of this world. But there is room for, specialist companies like Alchemy in that market. And so those customers, we have customers like Zurich Insurance, which is the largest insurance company in the world and Guidewire's biggest customer across 11 or 12 countries. Down to specialist firms like a Japanese insurer that's buying up companies in Europe. We implemented their UK business and we're now implementing their European businesses. So we've started in Italy. We're going to Germany next. So, generally it's international insurance companies. Our acquisition last year, it's the first time we didn't grow organically. We actually bought a company that we partnered with for specialist insurance. You might not be familiar, but the London market, sometimes called the Lloyd's market, where commercial insurance, business to business insurance thrives. It's the biggest center in the world. They were consultants in that area, and we were using them for specialist advisory work when implementing software there. The opportunity came up. They make them part of Alchemy, and now we've launched Alchemy London Market. So we have an office in the Lloyd's building, which is an iconic building in the insurance centre in the UK. So we have a
Is it the one with all the? It looks like it's got the insides on the outside. Is that the
Yeah, the
Lloyd's
same as
building?
same architect as the Pompidou Center, but it's done in brushed steel, so it's not quite as painful on the eye. And it's aged magnificently. I mean, it looks great, and it's a lovely building to be housed in.
What would you say has been your biggest lesson, John, since being a business owner?
Yeah, don't believe what people tell you. And don't expect people to live up to their promises in business. We kicked off the business and my contacts in the other big consultancies were very excited because they said we don't really have the time and money to train our people that well. So if you really do that, John, and you build that, we will come and we will use your staff and we'll be your biggest partners. Never happened. Never got any business from them. Uh, so so that's you need to be careful. I've spoke to other entrepreneurs where people have said, yeah, we'll give you business, we'll be your biggest customer. It's probably not going to happen. You need a more robust model where you
Right.
feel, we went quality. And by focus on quality and people and really training people. So that part they were excited about because it's true. Many of the people in the market don't get the level of training and knowledge about the product that the product provider would like. They sort of take shortcuts and they want to get people billable. And training's expensive. I mean, we were spending $20,000 per person in training before we got a billable day. Now we've had a view, obviously, to reduce that cost because as we develop our own expertise, as we get certified, we would have our own trainers. And that costs down the actual training cost, the money going out the doors down to $1,000 a head now. And we get paid to train other companies. So we turned that around, but getting that chunky airplane off the ground is expensive. It's a high cost of entry. But having the support from Department of the Economy and Invest NI helped me claim back 75% of those costs in the first couple of years. I mean, that's gone away now, but it really helped we launching the business properly. So we did get work because we really had trained and certified people.
What have you learned about yourself along the way?
So people said to me, why didn't you do this younger when you were younger? Um, I think I would have suffered stress-related illnesses if I tried to do this when I was younger. I think for me, I did it at the right stage of my development. I needed to be in a place where I was solid, and stayed calm, relaxed, and determined, and believed in what I was doing and my abilities. And I would say a younger version of me would have suffered. I think, being responsible for £1 million worth of salaries a month is a fairly big responsibility when you've got to go and find that business. And I think a younger version of me may have suffered trying to do that and shoulder the responsibility. So I just think I've learned that I'm at a level of maturity, and can stay relaxed and not let stress drive my behavior, which I think would impact client relationships, staff relationships, partner relationships. And I'd say a younger version of me would not have been in a place where I could keep all that together when we had tough times. And there's always going to be tough times when you're in a startup.
And I see behind you the banner there, the Alchemy graduate program for next year. So tell me
Yeah,
how important is that sort of thing to you?
it's really important to us. We're here to create jobs, and from day one, we wanted to bridge that gap of, I was a graduate. Where's your experience? How can we hire you if you don't have experience? How do you get experience if you don't hire me? It's an age-old problem, right? So we had a philosophy that, and still have, that teaching people right first time is really important. And so I would say to clients, you know, you're asking me for somebody with 10 years experience. How much of that experience do you want to be bad experience? And how much of that 10 years do you want to be good experience? Because that'll define the quality of the work. And that got us into an interesting conversation. And so I shifted the conversation, the dialogue, to what do you want the person to be able to do? And there's actually a role for different skill sets and different levels of capability in every project. Give a very experienced person some boring, straightforward stuff, they'll leave. It won't help with retention. Give a hungry, well-trained new person that work and they'll love it. They'll build their experience, and the price point will be different, and you'll be much more effective when it comes to cost management. And so, we have redefined it. And I have people now at Alchemy that joined us 6 years ago that are absolutely world class and leading major projects, um, in 6 years, which is not the 10-year uh, level that the clients were asking me for. But they're much, much better than many people that's been out there for 10 and 20 years and have very bad habits and very bad behaviors and are quite difficult to work with. The main feedback I get from Alchemy and the clients is the behaviors and how straightforward are people, how collaborative they are, and how they just get on with it, which is really, really positive for me, saying the whole thing was based around behaviors and values and how people work together to avoid those disastrous projects that I was brought in to fix. I thought let's design a company that doesn't have the behaviors or doesn't get involved in the behaviors that causes those disastrous projects.
And tell me, John, what drives your passion for your business? What gets you springing out of bed in the morning?
Creating careers for people. We don't just hire graduates anymore. The early days, we did start with graduates. I also needed experienced people to mentor and coach those people. So I did bring in experienced people that I trusted. And we still bring in lots of experienced people now. In Northern Ireland, there's a wealth of talent in the insurance software industry, um, through major companies that have been here for decades, whether that be Allstate or Liberty International or whatever. There's a wealth of experienced talent as well as my connections around Europe and the world. So we have a nice cocktail and a nice mix now, but creating great work for these people, seeing them. I mean, the people that joined me as graduates on 20K or whatever it was back then, 25K, that are now earning between 55 and 75K 5 6 years later, buying houses, getting married, having kids, moving on in life, just adding to the community. That $1 million, £1 million a month is going back into the community. So that makes a real difference, I think. And bringing fresh talent into the industry. But really spending time with people and seeing them develop and talking to people is what gets me up in the morning and helping develop that business or their careers.
What would be your desert island, either podcast or book that you would recommend to people?
I would need one that really makes you think, and that you read many times to understand it. So I would go with The Glass Bead Game by Herman Hesse. Um, it it won uh, all the prizes you can imagine, the highest prizes. It was written in the 40s. It imagines a society in the 23rd century that's based around a game that's intellectuals and knowledgeable learning people play, and you require knowledge of music, science, mathematics, the world of biology and nature, and you develop yourself through that. And of course, that ties in nicely with the whole concept of alchemy and being the best version of yourself. So I think I would. It's quite a thick, quite a thick book, and I keep looking for time to read it again because there's many things to learn from it. So that would keep me stimulated, I think.
And what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing?
For me, I would say, as a company, making, I guess the brand is now starting to be really recognized on the global stage. Um, we are an alternative to the PwCs, the KPMGs in our niche, in our space. And I would say that's, dealing with the fact that we don't have offices all around the world. We've started to get into the very big projects that now we're being asked to bid for, finding the right partners and finding the companies that have offices around the world. That's not something we're trying to achieve. We're trying to build jobs here. The London office is a natural connection into that market. It's a small office of, it seats 20. We've just announced a bigger office here in Derry. That'll be our third move and our third expansion in only 6 years. So I think it's partnering on the global stage for some of these very large projects. We want a European rollout through a trusted customer that knows we can deliver that out of Derry, out of Northern Ireland. And so I would say that's probably one of the good things that came out of the pandemic. From a learning perspective, customers now understand that we can deliver remotely.
Oh.
But some of the big projects, they still look for a global presence. So finding the right partner. We found one for the Nordics region that's going very well. And we just announced a large partnership recently with NTT Data. They're a $30 billion consulting IT firm. Can you imagine $30 billion? We're going to do 20 million this year, but it's a $30 billion company. And they're proven to be, we're jointly bidding on some of these global deals with them. They're proven to be a good avenue.
And what if you could invite any three people, alive or dead, to a dinner party, who would they be?
Well, I'd have to go with dead ones because I would say I would go after the live ones and get them along. It's quite awkward when I go out to dinner in Northern Ireland because I'm not quite vegan, but I do eat eggs, but otherwise I'm vegan. And I have been for over 20 years, so it's not a trendy thing. Coming back to Northern Ireland's been a bit like going back in time. What do you want, pasta or a curry? That's about it, really. Or maybe they'll have a go at a risotto. So not very imaginative. Thank goodness there are some amazing restaurants now that I'm finding that cook better vegetarian or vegan food than I can. And of course, that's a key part of going out, isn't it? They've got to do better than you could do yourself. But I think I would go for people who have gone that I think I could learn from in an hour, life-changing things. So I would go for Jung, Jung, the white. Yeah, I would go with Jung. I would go with Lawrence van der Post. People may know him from the movie Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. I think David Bowie played his part. He was a soldier and a philosopher and an explorer. Incredible guy, wrote some amazing insights and books. And then my mentor who passed away 5 years ago, Anthony Lunt, who passed away suddenly. And they would all have a lot in common, to talk from their different eras and their views of the universe. And of course, I could ask them what happens after you die.
Right.
That would be the big insight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'll be the opener, the opening gambit.
Yeah.
And if you could go back in time and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, John, what would that be?
Oh, I had to do that many times during my therapy. And I had many years of therapy coming out of Northern Ireland to help get my head straight. By the way, Young was YUNG, wasn't it? I don't know what was going on in my head there. But it's an interesting one. I would say I would reassure myself that things will be okay. Because I think as a young person coming out of a very troubled society, um, I think if I was told I would get people that helped me to work things out, because they weren't obvious at the time that those people existed. There were so many people with so many angry thoughts and feelings around that I couldn't get answers from. I would say a bit of reassurance that you will find some answers along the way that'll help make things better would be the main advice.
Great share. What about Alchemy now? If you think of Alchemy, what are we, 2020, come to the end of 2024? What does Alchemy look like in 5 years' time? Coming up
You
to
know, sorry I interrupted you there. Finish that.
Oh yeah, no, just saying as we're coming to the end of the
Five.
2020s, it's hard to even contemplate, but yeah.
2024. After 4 years of a certain new president, you mean, and what's going to be happening in the world then?
I'm hoping we're still going to be here, John. Well, we're going to assume that Alchemy will be here as well. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, so look, if you'd asked me 5 or 6 years ago where we'd be now, um, I think a 20 million turnover company with a couple of hundred staff. Um, I mean, to be honest, I didn't have a global pandemic in my risk log. I was shooting for 250 people and about 20 million. So we're not too far off the mark, given we had a couple of very challenging years that we didn't anticipate. That is now on the risk log, so we've sorted that out for going forward. It would be hard to not say that we would see significant growth, very significant growth. I would say we would grow with partners. I think moving into these global businesses with global projects and playing with the really big guys requires us to partner. Um,
Right.
our pockets aren't deep enough. We don't really want to go to investors. We don't want to be owned by an investment house. We want to control the culture and have our own destiny, but finding the right partners that have a culture focus and a behavioral focus and a set of values that align with us. We are doing that. They do exist, and we can work with them. So I would see our people having the opportunities to work on much larger programs around the world, which we're already starting to see integrate and work alongside partner companies,
Hmm.
that can provide other aspects of the program, like we do with a partner in Denmark, for example. Our staff are used to that. They know we do our bit on the software guide wire piece, and they do a lot of the stuff around, the overall program and infrastructure and integrations and technologies that in the ecosystem that these things provide. So a lot of opportunities for our staff. We actually provided some of our staff into Zurich. So they went and joined Zurich to help Zurich kick off that department, if you like. And so they
Hmm.
have jobs with a global insurer. We didn't hold on to them and say you have to stay with Alchemy, though thankfully our attrition is quite low, but we did create opportunities. So, I would say very significant growth. Um, Through those partners, we have a base now in Derry of 150, but why can't it be 1,500? Why can't it be something very significant that plays a part in society here, alongside our partners that will see the talent and see what's possible, where we attract other brands to come and build what we've built alongside us. I think that's really important. So, I'm focused on job creation, and so everything flows from that. You need the revenue growth to match that. Um, but alongside partners, you could turn our 20,000 into 100, sorry, our 20 million into 100 million in that period of time.
And if somebody likes what they've heard here, John, and would like to reach out, find out more about Alchemy, I mean, it sounds like a tremendous growth story. What would be the best way for them to go about that?
Well, start on a website like everyone does, alchemytext.com. That leads to everything. You see, we're very open, part of our culture was to avoid competitive behavior. So you'll see our grades in there. They go bronze, silver, gold, platinum. You'll see the salary scales. We're very transparent. We don't make earning money a taboo. That is a big part of what we do to drive the socioeconomic recovery, or our little piece of it. And then, the social media, we're very active on social media around Alchemy. And for grads, we had an open night recently. There's applications open at the moment for that intake. We also still go back and participate in some of the academies. And then we're always after experienced hires too. And any customers that are out there, potential customers, there is a real shift now from finding we're being successful. I did a recent mission to the States along with Department of the Economy and Minister Connor Murphy and Invest NI. And we picked up 4 very solid leads there that we're developing because customers are looking for collaborative partners that educate their staff, develop their staff, and don't come and do it to them. They do it with them. And we're seen as a very collaborative style partner. So we're being successful because of that, I think.
Well, John Harkin from Alchemy, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been a fascinating journey. I can't believe you were a pioneering vegan AI person all those years ago. That's unbelievable. But it's great to hear a business that's still relatively young, 6 years old, that has grown and continues to grow, is a tremendous success story. So thanks very much for sharing that. I wish you all the success for what we've got left of 2024 and beyond. So John, thanks very much indeed.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time, Peter. I can't emphasize enough that it's the talent that's available here in Northern Ireland. It's the life source of our success. So, I'd recommend any company, if they're looking for really committed talent, this is a great place to build a business. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.